and this is our second Community of Practice webinar that we're holding today, and I want to thank Whitney and Liz from VetAdvisors for joining us today and holding this webinar with us. And what I've discovered, at least in my own life, and it seems to be a trend with all of us who have got so much going on, that time management can kind of be a struggle. And so I know it's a word that keeps coming up with some of you guys, and I know in my own life. And so I thought it'd be good to have Whitney join us and to do a time management presentation, just some strategies on how we can manage our time a little bit better, and what I've discovered and just my limited knowledge of time management, some things that I'll show you guys in a little bit of how we do some different things, is that the better we manage our time, the more time it seems like we have. So I know that when I'm not managing my time, it feels like my days fly by and I never get anything done, and it's overwhelming, stresses me out, and it just it causes me to struggle. So I thought this would be a good thing to hold, and so Whitney's going to do the first part and kind of talk about time management overall and time management in our lives, and then I will follow up with that with time management kind of as it relates to you individually, but as well as it relates to your farms and ranches, and some different resources I have for you on that. So with that, I will go ahead and hand it over to Whitney, and we'll get started.
Perfect. I think that I am sharing my correct screen. I don't know though, Erin. I think you have to pass over like hosting so that this pops up for everyone. I'm not sure.
I think it should be, you're the presenter, so it should be showing, I can see your screen.
Okay, perfect. So, all right. Yeah, I can't see what you all are seeing because I have my presentation up here to speak, so I want to make sure that the right thing is showing for you guys. So I'm Whitney Veres. I'm a coaching supervisor as well as the lead behavioral health and wellness coach here on VetAdvisor. I know a couple of you have started coaching with us, and if you haven't already, I really encourage you to get in and get your general assessment done and utilize our coaches. We're all really excited about this, and Erin and BJ are utilizing us and can attest to, I think, our excellent services and how we can help you actually with developing a more specific plan if time management as well as other things are something that you're struggling with as you're going through this. And I think that all of us have been there, so it's okay to admit it. So, what is time management? So it's a combination of three big things, which are, prioritizing, controlling your procrastination, and managing your commitments. So it means taking control of your activities, duties, commitments. When you manage your time and decide what tasks and activities are most important based on your values. For example, you might place a really high value on family life. That might be the most important thing for you. But you might not be able to spend as much time with your family as what you like. So knowing what's important to you helps you decide how best to spend your time, and managing that time helps reduce stress, which is always good. So prioritizing tasks and activities help you to decide which tasks are most important to you. Controlling that procrastination. Procrastination is putting things off until the last minute or even missing deadlines, so not getting them done on time because you have put things off for too long. And then, of course, managing your commitments. So that means being able to say no sometimes to people and to things that aren't important to you or that you just don't have time to do, and saying yes to the things that are most important and that you need to get done. So why is this important? So we already kind of said time management directly ties into stress management. If you're managing your time well and getting things done, you're not going to feel as stressed, which, feeling stressed, then that, rolls over into lots of different problems. I mean, it can cause physical problems, mental health problems. It can not sleeping well, sleeping too much, eating too much, not eating enough. There's lots of things that stress can impact. So we want to spend time on the things that are most important to us and reduce time on unimportant things, because that will lead to stress. More control equals less stress. When we're feeling out of control, that generally heightens our stress levels and makes things worse for us. So we want to wrap things in. We want to make sure we've got a good control on things. And it allows you to find the time to do the things that you really want to do. So how do we do that? How do we manage our time? So we're going to focus on a couple key, what we call concentration killers. And so these are the biggest things that people really struggle with that take up a lot of time in our day that are really oftentimes unimportant. First one, social media. This can be a huge time suck. I will admit that I definitely can get sucked into, I don't Twitter. I don't use Twitter, I don't tweet, but some people do. Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Snapchat is another big one, and I'm sure I'm probably missing a lot of other ones that are out there that I'm just not cool enough to be aware of. It's easy to connect with friends, so it's great. It allows you to talk to people. We're a military family. We've got people all over the United States. I love it. It helps me to keep in contact with friends, as well as our family that's, over 1,200 miles away. But it can take away time from things that you should be doing. So some of the suggestions, as far as if you enjoy social media and utilizing, that's great, but set specific times and time limits for it. If you're working on a certain project, if you're working on your stuff for Battleground to Breaking Ground, if you're spending time with family, don't be logged into it. Keep it off your, a good way is to keep it off your phone. If you have a difficult time staying off of it, don't have the app on your phone, and don't log into that site when you're on the computer if you're working on things, because then you can't get caught up in it. It's easy to say, oh, I'm just going to check on something, and here you are 30 minutes later, and you're still on Facebook. The other option, if you can't disconnect, is go somewhere where you don't have access to internet. If you're working on something and you don't necessarily need the internet, then, turn off your Wi-Fi, turn off your internet, go somewhere where you're completely disconnected, and that way it is not, it's not there tempting you as a time suck. Email overload. I think Erin, before we actually started recording, said, she had been gone for a couple days and came back to, I think she said 80 emails. Same thing happens with us. Email, and whether that be personal or your professional emails, it's something that can really suck up a ton of your time. So I know that I'm guilty of, if I see an email come in, feeling like I have to respond to it immediately. If I see it pop up, because I get the alerts on my cell phone, so I'll see it on my phone, as well as it'll pop up on my email while I'm working on a task, and it breaks my concentration. So there are things that you can do to help prevent email from taking up too much of your time. So set aside specific times for you to check your email. So if you're working on something, log out of your email and work on your project, whatever it is that you're doing for, set yourself a limit, 1 hour, 2 hour. I'm not going to check my email. I'm going to check it first thing in the morning at 8 o'clock. I'm going to check it at noon, and then I'm going to check it at 4:30 before I leave for the day. Whatever works for you. Everybody's different, so you have to figure out, because, depending upon what business you're in and what's expected, sometimes there could be emails that you do have to respond to quickly. But if it's not something that you need to do, make specific times that you're going to do it, and that way it's allowing you to carve out specific time for uninterrupted work where you don't have people asking you for things and you can concentrate on what it is that you're trying to do. We alluded to this one a couple times, cell phones, huge time suck. There's lots of things on your phone that are distracting. You get alerts to emails. You can get phone calls. You can get texts. You're getting alerts to your Facebook. I mean, there's all kinds of things that can really suck up a ton of your time. So first one, phone calls. If it's not urgent, let it go to voicemail, or turn off your phone completely if you're working on something that you need to do, or silence it so that it's not ringing. or, let family know if you're working on something and you need to get it done, like let your spouse or your children know, like do not contact me unless you're like dead or dying. Let them know that so that and even like if you're at work, letting them know you're trying to work on a project and you cannot be interrupted. Check all your voicemails at once. So let it go to voicemail. Again, set specific times that you're going to check your phone, and don't, put your phone in another room so that it's not even on your desk if you're working on something. Multitasking. We all attempt to do it. The fact is there's tons of research on the fact that when you're trying to do multiple things at once, it takes you way longer to get things done. You are doing better if you focus on one task at a time. So how do you do that? You devote your attention to one project at a time. Don't skip around. Work on getting one thing done. Now, you can do multitasking for projects that aren't urgent or demanding. One example is if you're taking a phone call, it's okay to like tidy up your desk to do something kind of that doesn't take up a lot of time, so that's okay to do. But if you're working on like 3 important tasks, work on one, whichever one's the most important, and start with that first and then move on down the line. Do not try to jump back and forth between the 3 projects. Boredom. Let's face it, sometimes some of the things that we're tasked with doing are not always enjoyable. Within 5 minutes, you could be burnt out if it's something that you don't enjoy. So, and the fact is, anything can be, tempting if you're bored enough. I remember when I was in school, I hate doing dishes. Dishes is my least favorite thing to do. But even that became enticing when I was bored with doing like a certain project for work. And so it can be really easy to get distracted. So make a deal with yourself. Say, if I work on this project for 30 minutes, I can take 10 minutes to go do something else. So make, and of course it depends on how much time you have and what your project is that you're working on. But make a deal with yourself. If I get this much accomplished when I do that, I can take a break. And this is when can be like sometimes multitasking can be beneficial. If you're doing something that's kind of mundane, it's okay to maybe kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Do something smaller that doesn't take up a lot of brain power and get that done while you're working on the project. Majan Thought. So this is one too. It's hard to focus if you're thinking about the million things that you need to do. Or maybe you're trying to work on a project, but you're thinking about a fight that you have with your spouse the day before. A great solution to this is to write it all down. If you've got your thoughts all jumbled up, just take 5 minutes and write it all out on a sheet of paper. Write all of the tasks, all the things that you need to do. Just, kind of, we call it word vomiting. Like, get it all out there. It's all there. And then that's when you have a list then that you can prioritize to. And you can look and see what is important, what are things that you need to act on right now, what can wait. And that really helps you to really get a grasp on what is it that you need to do and develop a plan. Stress. Stress can be a time suck, and things taking up too much time can cause stress. So, feeling overwhelmed, if you feel like you have too much to do and you're never going to get it all done. Physical symptoms, so if you're getting headaches, if you have maybe tightness in your shoulders, things like that can make it very difficult to concentrate. So as far as dealing with stress while you're trying to get all of this done, of course you can use all of these things that we're talking about up until this point, but some other things you can do to, take a couple of minutes and get yourself back on track. You can use things like meditation, progressive muscle relaxation, guided imagery, simple imagery. Those are all examples. And actually, I told Erin if we do a stress management webinar for you guys, I can go, the one that I have, the presentation I do goes into more detail about each of those techniques that you can utilize. But honestly, a simple Google search will tell you what to do. Progressive muscle relaxation is just, tensing a muscle and then consciously deciding to relax it and working your way through your body. Guided imagery is listening to somebody else tell you what to do, to imagine a scene. Simple imagery is very easy. Picture a place, like what's your favorite place to be. If it's, sitting in the middle of the woods, listening to the fish chirp, taking 5 minutes and imagining that. Sitting on the beach, listening to the waves, whatever it is, take a couple minutes and listen to that, and it can help you to de-stress a little bit. Fatigue. Too little sleep can ruin your attention span. It can actually impact your short-term memory, where you have a difficult time remembering things because of your lack of sleep. Fact is, you have to make sleep a priority. I know that when you have what feels like a million things to do, sleep can be one of the first things to go. You stay up way later or wake up earlier, but the fact is you need to allow your body that rest. That's what's going to allow you to get things done. If you're not getting enough sleep, the quality of what you're doing is going to suffer anyway. So some simple things you can do is going to bed and waking up at the same time every day and morning, even on the weekends. Have a bedtime where you're doing that. Schedule your most intense tasks during times of the day where you have the most energy. So some people are morning people. They have most energy in the morning. If you know that's when you have the most energy, that's when you should really sit down and get the things done that you need to do, especially those most intense tasks, things that take more brain power that you need the energy for. Some people, me, I'm like a night owl. I have more energy like from 8 to 10. That's where I get the most things done for me. So that's when I work on getting the bulk of my things done. Look at what works best for you and prioritize your day according to that. Another one that I know we do this, so we just had a meeting last week all together where we were eating lunch and getting things done at the same time. If you are hungry, it is going to impact your ability to focus. If your stomach is growling, if you feel like you're starving, your brain's not going to focus well. Always eat a good breakfast. Make sure that you're eating well. And that should include things with protein, like don't eat just straight carbs in the morning, like just a piece of fruit. That's not going to stick with you. If you're going to do carbs, it needs to be complex carbs that are going to break down. So things like your whole grains should have some protein in there, whether that be, even a Greek yogurt has protein in it. You can eat that on the go. Keep snacks with you. Nuts are so easy. They don't require refrigeration, and they're great protein. Help to keep you going. Cheese sticks even, those are good too. Technically they need to be in the fridge, but they'll last for a couple of hours. Like throw them in your bag and use them to eat on the go. Stay away from those simple carbs, so like things like sweets and white pasta, and instead, like I said, choose those complex carbs that are going to stick with you throughout the day so that you don't have those highs and lows. So this is something so simple that really can impact your ability to focus throughout the day. And those are all I have as far as like the top concentration killers and some solutions to help you along the way. I know we have a couple people on the line. Does anybody have any questions specifically that you would like for me to address?
Brandon or Mike, do you guys have any questions you need, just burning questions or comments that you have?
No, I really appreciate the reminder, and definitely makes a difference what you eat. Definitely have to have breakfast.
Yes, it's so important. And I know I said this at the beginning, but truly, like, this is one of the things that we do in coaching. Jackie and myself, you would be surprised the number of people that come to us and we help them get on track with nutrition, and how much better you can feel if you're taking time to feed yourself better. If you eat like crap, you feel like crap. It's 100% true. So, taking time to eat good quality foods, and you can do them on the go. We can help you with figuring out like meal plans that are going to work for you in your life, because we work full time too, and a lot of us, we have families. We know the struggle that can be. So we can help you with getting those things in line. Fitting in exercise is a great stress reliever. I mean, you guys, I think, generally if you're ranching and stuff, you guys are busy. So those, and feeling good, fueling your body and taking care of yourself is so important. And you might be out there physically doing things, but there are a lot of great things. You know, you can injure yourself if you're not taking good care of like your core and your muscles. So there are exercises that we can do to help you to make sure that you're strong to be able to do what you need to do.
Absolutely. That reminds me, I don't eat breakfast, so I'm going to have to work on that because I'm not hungry in the morning.
I'm calling Jackie. I'm like,
I know. You should call me, and she'll probably be like, well, no wonder you're angry by the time you get to noon. I'm hungry. So that's good. Yeah, I need to make sure I get on that. And I cook the kids breakfast, so it's not like it's hard.
Exactly.
I'm not hungry.
It's a priority. You know that it's important for them to eat. You need to make yourself a priority too.
Yeah. Good. I should.
Unfortunately, eating good or tasting good doesn't always equate to eating good.
That's not true. We can make that work too.
Burgers and fries.
Oh, so good.
But there are healthy stuff. You can have burgers. I eat burgers lots of time. It's like how you make the burgers, it's usually all the crap you put on top of the burger that's the problem.
Tastes good.
Yeah, there you go. The mayonnaise and ketchup is fantastic.
Yeah, I actually in Alaska. I had probably one of the craziest, busiest jobs in my life at that time. But
okay.
I just put together like how a 2 to 3 minute task can turn into 30 minutes, or not even get done at all, just because of all these different interrupters I had going on. So once I identify those interrupters and try to control them, I could at least succeed on a 2 to 3 minute task.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, that's good. Well, I'll look at that. Yeah, I think I saw that coming through, Brent. So good. That probably be good to share with folks too. Anything else, you guys?
No, just of course stress control. It overwhelmed me, and I was like, I called VetAdvisors, and they helped me out a lot and pointed me in a good direction. So I was glad to use your program, and I'm going to keep going with it, and also prioritizing there. I had to jump on so many tasks that now I know I almost have lost my farm, and so I'm, that task is back in the front again, of course, and that's procrastination. But it's also mismanagement of your time. If you don't put those things on top, it's like the old Chinese menu, one from column A, one from column B. You better get all that column A done. You move to B or C and prioritize them properly, or you'll run into this kind of problem.
Yeah, amen. Yeah, I think so.
True. And this one I didn't have on the thing, but you would be surprised how much you feel like you have so much to do and not enough time in the day. And actually we've used this with people at work if they're having a hard time, like not getting things done, writing down like every 30 minutes what you did within that 30 minutes for a day. You would be surprised when you look back on your day how much time you actually wasted most of the time.
Sure.
And so that's something else is, like you were saying, Mike, you can find where you're wasting time and where you have more time than what you realize. And I know we all say, like, oh, there's just not enough time in the day. And I would say there are days that are that way. More often than not, though, you probably easily wasted an hour or two throughout the day doing things that didn't need to be addressed or, could have waited for another day.
Yeah, very true. Those time studies are really important.
Yeah, doing them every once in a while, like I'll do it for myself, like on a work day when I'm feeling that way, and just doing it every once in a while really helps you to identify what it is that you're doing and how you're spending your time.
Yeah, that's a really good. Well, and I'm a person who I feel like everything's important. It's got to get done right now. And so then it does get very overwhelming, and then I'm like, I just shut down. I'm like, I'm not doing anything.
That's what a lot of people will do. When you feel, then you get nothing done, and it's
that's right.
Yep.
That's a compounding problem. So
I feel that way with my kids.
Yeah, kids can definitely make you feel that way.
Yes.
I mean, there's just some days I'm like, I wish I could bottle whatever it is y'all have.
Yeah.
Because I'd be a millionaire.
That's right. Sorry, Mike, did you have something else to add?
No, I was saying, hey, BJ, I just heard you up in the distance.
Yes.
Yes, sir. How are you doing today?
Hey, much better, and I'll get with you offline about scheduling my plan.
That sounds good. I apologize for missing your call yesterday evening. I was actually driving home whenever you called.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. I know how that is.
Yes, sir.
It's how things work out is how they work out, and I'm looking forward to going on Tuesday to the USDA and getting them to give me a little reprieve so I can get through this program and make them happy and start making money for them again.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
For them, because I'll have to pay them before I pay myself.
Yep. Yep. Well, good. Well, make sure you talk to VetAdvisors too. They have financial planning, Mike, that they can help you with your personal finances too, to make that work while you're going through that. So.
Thank you. And Greg's really been a help. So he told me where to catch stuff, and he hadn't finished the whole project, but I wasn't expecting that. More importantly was he told me what not to say when I go to that meeting.
Good. Yeah.
So, this is a good one I'll pass on just real quick. He said, if you've got some good ideas on what you're planning on doing to make money, don't tell them, because then they'll say, well, why am I going to throw good money after bad if you got some new ideas? Fix the one you already are in before you move on to the next one. So he said, keep those ideas on the side, but when you go into the money people, don't bring any of that stuff up.
Yeah, that's good.
Well, he said, look on what you got already and make it look shiny, and go in looking good too, and that'll help to sell the deal so that they'll say, yeah, this guy's still good to invest with. Absolutely.
Well, and to kind of on that same point, when you go into an investor and you're telling them like, oh, I'm going to do these 20 things, and you're like, well, you have time. How are you going to have time to get all of that done? So that's a really good point, I think, is focusing on a couple things that you can do well, and then making those things work. So that's definitely, you've been to our workshops. That's one thing we preach is like, yes, there are hundreds of great ideas, but get one or two working pretty good for you before you start trying to do 20. So.
Amen. And I'm going to be working with the research center, so that'll help a lot. And I'm going to focus on just the things we're going to do together, and it's part of what I'm doing anyway. And that way, they'll see, oh, you'll have a little help with a big brain that's going to put some insight into it and help me with my pinhead so I stay on the right track.
Yes. Yep. Helping us stay on track is a good thing. All right. Well, if there are no more comments or questions for Jackie, I'm going to go ahead and move us into the time management that applies to farming and ranching. Are you guys good?
Roger that.
All right. So what I kind of put together, we're all doing a lot of different things. So I just kind of did some basic information as far as farming and ranching and time management goes. So let me go over here. So farming and ranching, and from the time management standpoint, is very similar. We do have a little bit of differences. Well, I think it can be argued that we have, they're probably the same similarities, because I think here, starting with the tips is that you should always start with the end in mind. Somebody gave me a really good analogy one time about building a house. Is when you're building a house, you have to think about where is the house going to sit, and where do you want your view, and where, how many bedrooms do you want, and all of those kinds of things. You have to think about the end product before you can come up with the plan to build it. So one thing I want to stress is start with the end in mind. Make sure you have a good list of your goals and what you're trying to accomplish. We'll talk about listing out your tasks and making a plan. So when you're thinking about a plan, just what are your most important tasks? Whitney's point is prioritizing those tasks, what needs to get done first, when do they need to get done, and who will do them. So starting with the end in mind, just make sure you know what it is you are trying to accomplish. So one example I'll probably use a lot today is that we do grass-fed beef. So I want to have a high-quality forage pasture that we can finish our steers on. Well, what that means is that we do have to do some planting and pasture management to be able to produce those high-quality forages. Well, if I want, we're going to focus on cool season cover crops and those kinds of things because we really like legumes for their nitrogen fixation, and we like some of the cool annuals because they have higher protein content, and we can get a lot of gain out of those forages. Well, that means that I need to have mature standing pastures in the fall. Well, the planting and all of those kinds of things for that pasture actually starts in August. So you have to start in August with your seed bed preparation and those kinds of things. Well, but what do you need to know before you get started with preparing seed beds and preparing for planting? We need to know what kind of rainfall we have. We need to know what kind of soil we have. We need to know what our soil test looks like. We need to know, do we have the fences to keep the livestock off the grasses while they're being established, and what are we going to do with them while those grasses are being established, and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of consideration. So we have to start with the end, and then we have to work backwards. So what resources do you have to get there? So thinking about the end in mind, that helps you think about what resources you have available to you that are going to help you get there. So again, back to the pasture management, I know that I'm going to need a drag, I'm going to need a seeder, I'm going to need some grass seed and somebody to advise me on what we need for grass seed, that soil test, all those. So those are resources I need. But what are the resources I have? Well, we already have the land, we have fencing, we have us, I have me, and I have John, I have my management team, those kinds of things. And one thing I think was really good that holistic management taught me is, what are my log jams? And they define log jam as something that is preventing you from getting everything else done. So what is that couple things that are preventing you from getting those other tasks done? For me, I equate log jams to money. So what are the big things that are keeping me from being able to generate revenue? For you, it might be something else. What's keeping you from being able to spend a day off with your family? Or what is it that's keeping you from being able to make it to the market? So those kinds of things, which to me is money too, but or what is keeping you from being able to operate efficiently? So what is the log jams? Identify your major things that are preventing you from doing what you need to do, and be able to predict those. So, and have a plan to address them. So we'll talk a little bit about planning here in a second. But so listing out your goals, I encourage you to, if you have not already done so, if you've been to the workshop, and I think Greg has even said it in the course, but I want you to get out a piece of paper and sit down with whoever your management partner is, whether that's your spouse, that's a child, mostly adult children, those kinds of things. Whoever it is who's helping you manage your property, and even if your spouse isn't helping you manage your property, but they're involved, obviously, I want you to sit down and you're going to get 3 pieces of paper, and you're each individually going to list out the top of this paper. I want you to put personal goals, family goals, and business goals. On that piece of paper, you're going to list out goals for each of those areas. You'll come back together, and then you'll figure out, really, we're going to look at consistency, but more, what are we looking for? Mike and Brent, I'm going to ask you, get you involved. What are we looking for when we sit down with your management partner's goals?
Well, yeah. Go ahead.
Usually for me, I'm trying to figure out when I can get my farm profitable enough, or so I can get to my retirement point from my regular job.
Yes, yeah. No, that's a really good goal. But when you're looking at those together with your, like, we'll say your spouse. So you've got your personal goals, your family goals, and business goals. And you sit down and you put those pieces of paper together. Mike, do you know the answer to this?
Yeah, well, it's actually two-sided. One is you want to see where your similarities are, because then you got congruence, you're agreeing, and then you want to know, oh, this is something that doesn't match what I'm doing, so you've got to iron out those why their goals are different than your goals, and find out where you can work together to come to some kind of a arrangement.
Absolutely. So just thinking about log jams and being that I'm married and we've got a bunch of irons in the fire, I can tell you it becomes a pretty major log jam when John and I really disagree on how something needs to be done or what needs to be done first. So that becomes a major kind of barrier to progress if we don't address those. So if we can address those in the beginning of the differences and the similarities of what our goals are, then we can kind of address those and overcome those barriers before they even become barriers, if that makes any sense. So
yeah, there's no such thing as I'm the man, I'm going to do it. It's a team, and if you don't have your team on it, you're going to have some failure there.
Right. And so, one thing I really addressed and stressed at the workshop is that we talk a lot about one of the goals of this project. We want to create farmers and ranchers, but more than that, we want to create sustainable farmers and ranchers. And if you can't get on the same page with your spouse about your farming and ranching goals, it's not going to work. It just won't. It can't. So because you are a team, you are together, and it's something that's going to take a lot of time, effort, energy, and a lot of times money. So something that you do have to kind of figure out. So as a task, I hope that all of you guys do that, because identifying those things again early is really important. So listing out your tasks. So to Whitney's point, making a list of all of the different things that need to get done is really important, because if you can get them out of your head and you can get them on a piece of paper, you can look at them and assign that priority. So I think what happens to a lot of us in the farming and ranching industry is that we spend 99.9% of our time putting out fires, more or less. We're always trying to deal with the most critical thing at that moment, but the most critical thing that we feel at that moment isn't often, in my experience, the thing that actually needs to be addressed first. So if we can get them out of our head and get them on a piece of paper where we can actually plan them out, is really an effective and efficient way to manage our operations. So again, with your log jams in mind, just plan the tasks and how to address them. What are the other tasks that we need to do? So you think about those log jams and what's most important, how are we going to address those? And then you also think about the other tasks that need to be done. So if a log jam for me is that I don't have a website, well, that's going to be the thing that I need to address first, because that's something that makes me money. So I want to make sure that we have an ability to get that website done, whether we assign somebody to do it or hire somebody to do it or I do it myself. But and then there's other tasks, like I need to build a fence, I need to do different kinds of things, and then there's high priority tasks within that. Feeding the livestock, watering the livestock. Those are all things that are high priority that need to be done, but they just might not be things that I have to do right now. So if we can get them all out on paper, we can address them, figure out who does them, and then how to get them done. How do you complete your task most efficiently, and what do you need to complete the task? So a story that I think that Mr. Eric Olson shared with us this weekend that I think is is such a good visual of what happens to us in agriculture. He was talking about a friend of his that had, I think he had 40 first calf heifers out in the middle of nowhere. And they had a cow that had dystocia, which means a difficult birth. The calf was stuck. Okay, so they drive out there, they figure out the calf is stuck. We usually give the cow an hour and different time frames to intervene. So, okay, so she's been, I think she was down for, I think they said 2 hours. And they decided, okay, it's time to intervene. We need to get that calf out of there. Well, when they go to get the calf out of there, there's no rope in the truck. So they can't rope this cow off and help her out. So they got to drive to town or back to the house, get the rope, drive back out to the pasture. Okay, they get back out to the pasture. Well, they get the cow roped off, but then there's no chains to pull that calf. So now they got to let her go back to town, get the chains, and come back. By the time they actually got that calf out, I think she had been down for about 4 hours. So you really, really risk losing mama and baby at that point. So what he should have done is identify, oh, hey, I've got all these first calf heifers. We know that there's a possibility of them having a difficult birth. Let's find a way to move them close to the property or close to my house, wherever we're living, and put them near pens so that if we need to catch them, we can. And then if he had made a list of all of the things that he might need in case of emergency, then he would have already had all of those things in his truck and been prepared for that, or at the barn where the calving was going to happen. So I highly, highly, highly suggest that whatever the things that you have multiple moving pieces, is to make sure that you have a list of all the things that you need to get that task done. Because what happens to us many times is that you get out to the job, oh, okay, I don't have what I need to do this task. Okay, I got to run back to town. Okay, I got the thing I need, that one thing I needed. I get back out there and I go, oh, well, I need to do the 2 other things for this task. I got to run back to town and get those parts. It happens to us all the time. So I think that will be just a time saver in and of itself if you'll just go ahead and make the list of whatever you need to do to accomplish those tasks. So when you're making your plan, so you've got your list of tasks, you have an idea of what needs to get done and when it needs to get done. There's all of these different calendars that help you out. I'm going to show you some examples of some of this here in just a minute. But you have planting calendars, herd health calendars, pond management calendars. It depends on what you need to do as to what calendars you need. So for our planting our pastures, we have a planting calendar. For our cattle health and our vaccination schedules, we have a herd health calendar. We have a calving calendar, those kinds of things. So you have different calendars, and I say different because I think they really need to be all in one place. It's very difficult to go from calendar to calendar and to remember what's on each. So if you can put them all in one place, then that makes life a little bit easier. You just have to be able to identify them in some way. And I'll show you kind of a method we use in just a second. You need to identify who's going to do those tasks. Remember, we talked about in our marketing, I think it was, that if a person doesn't enjoy the task, they're likely not going to do it. It's going to fall towards the end of whatever their priorities are. So if I really hate talking to people, but I get assigned marketing, I'm going to do everything typically but that marketing, because that's just not what I like to do. So I think it's best to assign tasks to the people who like to do them so that they get them done. And then how will you know when the task is complete? So that prevents a lot of loss of time so that we're not doing double work. So for example, if I ask John to go out and water the goats, but I never hear back from him that the goats have been watered, and I can't get a hold of him, I'm going to go out to the farm to water the goats. Well, when I get out there, the goats might already be watered. And so we've just wasted all of that time and doing double work when it was already done. And then another important thing, I think, is to communicate the plan. So it doesn't matter if I know all of the tasks that need to be done if my management team doesn't also know the tasks that need to be done. And also, one thing that I found is really important is to figure out what the priorities for each person are. So if my priority is to get the goats to the sale barn, but John's priority was to put up the fence, so we might clash in that, or we might run over the top of each other just because we have different priorities, or one thing might not get done, and then I might go, well, that was a huge priority for me, and he's like, well, it wasn't a priority for me, so we didn't get it done. Those different kinds of things. So just making sure that you are all kind of on the same page with what needs to get done and how it's going to get done, who's going to do it, and you assign those to the best of your ability. So any questions so far?
Everything's good, thanks.
Awesome. Okay. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just show you a little bit of the things that the tools I like to use. So this first one is called a project schedule. So you can list out your tasks and then you can schedule them based on the day. It's got all of our weeks across here. So I just put the month up here, and then I go ahead and put what day of the week, if I know. Sometimes that gets a little bit more into like my weekly management, but I like to have kind of an overall goal. So like, for example, if I put up here that, let's say planting the pasture, so actually putting a seed in the ground, that has to be done in a small window. So, and it usually for us is probably going to go in September. So if we're looking at September, I know that I've got something going during this week, and I know I've got something going during this week. Well, we're going to look at this week then for planting, and I'm going to block off some time during this week for planting. And then I will do that I can do that for a month. I also have a yearly calendar that I'm going to show you in just a second. But once I get my monthly calendar blocked off, then a lot of times I will take that and I'll bust it down into my weekly calendar. So it's pretty detailed, and I don't do this all the time. This is usually when I'm feeling really overwhelmed with tasks. I've got so many tasks, I don't feel like I have enough time to get them done. Then I'll actually take them and I'll assign those task times to get them done. So that's been very helpful for me. It helps me be a lot more efficient and to kind of get ahead on some tasks where a lot of times I felt like I was either chasing my tail or I was always playing catch up. So those are good, I think, ways to manage that. One other thing I wanted to show you was this. This is not really a document. It's a piece of poster board. So what John and I did, is that we put across the top row up here is our goals, the things that we have going on, the things that we focus on. And then down on the side is our dates, so our months. So in each of these categories, we have things that are going on. So we did this in December with all the information that we need, and so we planned out just the dates. Like we had some of our workshop dates already planned. John had things that he had to do with the fire department already planned, our vacations and those kinds of things. Those are already on this schedule. So then I have my monthly one, or sorry, yeah, so that's my yearly one, and then I have my monthly one. Let me see, I've got it somewhere. Let me see if I can pull it up for you really quickly. Should be able to see that. It's not a very good picture. My room was kind of bright this day, but I took a picture of the calendar. So based on those same categories that I have for my year, this is my month. So I've got all those same categories, and then we just do it on the month, so that when we're going, hey, I need to do this task, whatever task is listed over here, when are the best times to get those done.
And that's a real good idea what you've done with that grease board, because that's why I have like prioritized things, stuff like that. And we have something we can mark on rather than put it on paper and then you never see it again.
That's right.
There, right where you are, you can see my task right away.
Yep. And then you can cross them off, check them off when they're done. Some of these are things that happen every month, so they just kind of carry over. Some of them are done and they come off of this thing. Some of them are recurring, like that we only do in September. But it's also a really good way. Each of us have our own color. So John is red and I am green. So whenever he puts a task that he's got going or something that he's got a priority, it goes in red. And whenever I have something, it goes in green. And then we have a color for the family too. So that we know who's in charge of that so that they don't get kind of muddled over or run over or those kinds of things. We don't mix them up, essentially. So that is kind of the time management, and then I wanted to show you this is another tool that you can use that's been a good tool. We mostly use this for our work, but this is just Google Calendar. It's free to you to use. You can do the same thing where you can put in what's going on, what your tasks are, those kinds of things. You can set recurring times. You can assign people to them, and then over here on the left-hand side, you can see the different calendars. So if I uncheck, let's say if I uncheck this one, that calendar disappears. So if I wanted to specifically, if I wanted to put a farm calendar on here, I could. The neat thing, probably the best thing I think about this is that this also is on our phones. So that if I have a task that I need to add, it's really easy for me to do from my phone, and then then they sync to all of our phones. So, like for example, John and my calendar, whenever I put something on our calendar and our phone sync, it goes to his calendar too, so that we can both see it. So that if, for example, like this doctor's appointment that we've got scheduled, if I want to put a doctor's appointment, I can quickly look on my phone and see who's got what going where. So that's a good one. That's a good tool to use if you like it to be a little bit more, not on paper or not have to actually get to the board to write it. That's something that's you can update as you go. Just a quick resource that I wanted to show you when we're talking about time management. This is a good resource, and I'm going to share it with you, but it's a Master Gardener's It's got pretty much everything you need to know about gardening in the Brazos Valley. All of your extensions, I don't think our Master Gardeners associations don't have these, but you can look at these, and they've got a lot of really good information on overall kind of plants and those kinds of things. But one thing that I really enjoyed about these guys is where they have plants for the Brazos Valley. They've got vegetables and they've got a fruit one, they've got a tree one, flowers, all those kinds of things. All the suggested plants and varieties that go well in our area. So you've got a document on those. So there you go. And then they also have, and you can see on here, there's like days to harvest, all of those kinds of things. Then they also have this awesome little document that tells you when they need to be planted. So there are often times to plant those for them to reach harvest. And I just think that tool is just really amazing, so that you know when those things need to be done. So I just wanted to give you a quick look at that, and that's available, and I'll share that for you here in a little bit. And then the other one I wanted to show you, again, I'm only showing you just a couple. I know that we've got a lot of people who are interested in the kind of the gardening, vegetable side of things, and we've also got a lot of people who are interested in beef cattle production. So based on what your goals for your operation are, they also have all kinds of calendars. I just Googled beef herd health calendar, And this one came up from Oklahoma State. I thought was pretty good. I've got it turned because the calendars were looking funny, so I turned it so we could see the calendars. But it tells you how to use it and some kind of considerations with that. But here's a calendar that tells you, okay, so 60 days before pre-calving, you need to make sure any vaccinations are done. And if you need to, or scours is a consideration, 60 days before calving, they need to be vaccinated for that. So pre-calving, they want you to evaluate your facilities. Is your equipment sterile? Are you doing a protocol for monitoring? How will you assist with delivery? Do you have a veterinarian's number? How long do you need to wait before you assist a cow? What kind of bulls are you bred to? So you know what to expect. Are we got low birth weight bulls, or we got high birth weight bulls? Those kinds of things. Monitoring your herd for nutrition and separating them by age. So that's based on their nutritional requirements. You know what those nutritional requirements are. And then they've got other considerations that you can do. So there's all these different kinds of calendars out there based on what you want to do in your production. We can help you figure out what calendar might best suit your operation, because obviously this is using vaccination. Some of you guys don't vaccinate. Some of you do. Some of you are grass-fed. Some of you are traditional. So just depending on what the goals of your operation, will make kind of the consideration on when these calendars need to be done and made and those kinds of things. So that's really all I had for you. Do you guys have any questions? Kind of fast and furious, I know.
I do not.
I'm good also. Thank you. That was excellent.
Good, good. I'm glad. I was afraid that because it's not specific, I was afraid that it wouldn't be as helpful. But I'm glad. I'm glad it was helpful. And again, when we're doing your individual education plans based on the goals of your operation, we can customize those calendars. So like for me, I'm going to want my calves probably born early spring when the plane of nutrition of my grasses is the highest, because that mama, she needs the highest plane of nutrition when she's in her first, usually 2 to 3 months of calving. And then we have to maintain that plane of nutrition because we want her bred back at 3 months. At 3 months, that calf was 3 months old, we're going to try and be breeding that cow back. So she needs to stay on high planes of nutrition so she doesn't drop like body condition scores and those kinds of things. So we have to plan for that, because if we just go, we'll take it as it comes, we're going to miss the boat on so many things, and then we're going to put her at risk, we're going to put ourselves at risk, we're going to be stressed out and not sleeping and all those things that we don't need to do. Anything else, you guys? Can you think of anything?
I'm good, thank you.
You're welcome. Whitney or Liz, do you guys have any questions? Want to add anything?
I don't have anything at this time, no. I think that was I enjoyed your presentation. I'm learning a lot more about, like just the whole agriculture stuff. So I'm enjoying it.
Good. I'm glad. Well,
if I got to say the Google calendars, that's also, we use Google calendars professionally, at our work, as well as I use them personally, and they're a great way to be in contact with, at all times, that you have something to reference. That's a great suggestion.
Good. I'm glad. Well, especially when you've got multiple people that are working on similar projects. I was like, you got to make sure that you're not doing double work. Double work is always something that frustrates me, because I'm like, it's such a waste of time. I don't have time to waste. So yeah, I like that. And there's a new app that actually came out. I can't remember what it's called. It seems a little expensive to me. It's like $24 a month, but it does do a lot for project management, so that you can, no matter where you are, you can assign tasks and people can tell you whether they're completed or whether they are having trouble with it. And then it pops up, tells you when things aren't done, and you can assign them like priorities and those kinds of things. So that if you're communicating with a bunch of people, I think most of us are small farmers and ranchers. I don't think any of us have a huge like labor pool. But if we did, if anybody of you do or you plan to, maybe looking at like an app that does those kinds of things would be useful for you. All right, you guys. Well, with that, I think we are done. If somebody has any other questions, I'll stay on for just a second longer. And then if you have questions, comments, concerns, let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and post this recording once we get it. Brent, I did convert some of them to that MP4 file, so I'm going to put those up, and hopefully you'll be able to see them in the course. And then y'all let me know if y'all need anything.
Thank you much.
Thank you. Thank you, Liz and Whitney, for joining us today. Y'all did a great presentation.
Thank you. Good weekend.
Thanks. Have a good day.